Welcome back to Corey's Corner. I'm Corey, and this is my corner. And today, I got a very special guest. There was actually I was surprised how big it was. A really big tournament for esports, and who not better to have on than the coach, the person that's running it all, Professor Greenwell. How have you been?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. It's been.
Of course.
I'm excited to talk
Glad
today.
that you're here. Are you recovering from the weekend?
I was about to say, I'm still riding high on the tournament vibes, but I'd like to sleep in a little bit tomorrow. Daylight savings too.
Yeah.
Bro, I was worried about that with the tournament, but that's another story. But yeah,
how many teams were in the tournament?
There were 16 teams. 16 schools that came with 25 teams.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it was a bunch of people.
And then, so all the equipment you had to move over from the esports facility?
Yeah, so we have 10 Alienware PCs, plus we borrowed a couple. We used mine and a couple others just for casting, and then we wanted to have 12 so we could have 2 Rocket League matches happening simultaneously, so that's 6 and then another 6. So yeah, most of it's our equipment. Then the Alienware chairs and stuff were all purchased for last year's event. So
awesome.
Yeah, next year I'm hoping to get a sponsor so we can,
yeah,
because there's a couple places like MSI is a big PC company that they have mobile PC stuff for tournaments like this. So I don't want to have to move, and they're all in boxes back at the facility, so I'd rather not have to
definitely
move them all.
I understand that.
Having to set them all back up.
What is the for next year? You already said that you're planning to have it. Do you plan to still have it in Fraser Hall, or are you looking for maybe getting more teams, a bigger area, or?
That's something I was thinking about if we want to keep it on campus, because this is also partially a recruiting tool, so I like having people on campus. I don't think there's a place on campus that's better suited for it than Fraser with all the electrical and hookup stuff's already there, so I can't really envision a place at least for next year that's going to meet our needs. But as we grow, it's something to think about. But people love being on campus. They love seeing, going to the Bellman bookstore, and it's right connected to UDH. High schoolers and all you can eat food is an easy dub. Yeah. So that's an easy win. So everyone likes the space a lot. So we'll probably keep it for the next couple of years. Yeah.
Do you know how many schools actually have an esports? I know the startup is kind of costly for those, so it's hard for public schools. I know struggle to get started with it. So do you know how many exactly there is?
It's hard to say. I was actually looking up some team numbers for who's registered. So all high school esports are run through, it's a KHSAA sport. So it's just like basketball, football. You can win state championships. There's a company called Play Versus that Kentucky uses to run all of its high school esports. So I was looking on Play Versus because I can see how many Kentucky teams there are. So for example, off the top of my head, there are 40 League of Legends teams, but a couple of those are schools that have more than one team. And then, but for Smash, there's over 200 different teams. So I know that Trinity has 4 teams for Smash. They have varsity, JV, freshman, and an extra team for whoever's not playing that week can play on that.
That's
team.
pretty cool.
Yeah. So going back to your question about startup costs, there are some for some games some startup costs, but I think that's why Smash is so popular, because most kids already have Switches. So in some schools, I was talking to a Rocket League team at Martha Lane Collins. They're still playing at home. So all the kids that play on their Rocket League team, they're really good, but they don't have school equipment. So the coach will meet them on Discord. Sometimes they're able to move their PCs onto campus to do it in practice, but for the most part, it's still all online. And that's one of the reasons why we like having this tournament, because it brings people on campus in person for an actual competitive field that I think is really important.
Are there rules for, with other sports like football, basketball, they have rules where how much they can practice? With esports, you can, because you have Discord. Discord is, for those who don't know, it's almost like Teams, but gamers use it, they're on there all the time. That's how they connect, talk to each other through the games.
Yeah. But you can stream through Discord too is another big reason why it's popular. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know you could stream through it.
So if you can stream through Discord, and then your team can watch you and do VOD reviews and stuff. So.
Okay, yeah, that's sweet. So they use Discord, but they can connect with each other, the coaches, all the time. Do they have regulations for that?
As far as practice times, there's a very strict dead period in KHSAA that esports has to follow too. So that means coaches can't talk to players just like any other sport. But as far as practice times, they can practice on their own whenever they want to. We have, when I was coaching high school, we had practice like Monday, Tuesday, game day Wednesdays, like practice Thursday, off Fridays. So we had like 3 days a week plus game day practices. So 4 days a week we were in the facility that we had.
This is when you were coaching at Trinity?
At Trinity, yeah.
Okay.
So we started with just Rocket League when I first started coaching over COVID, actually. So for a moment in time, esports was the only sport Trinity participated in for COVID. We won a state championship in 2020,
wow,
our COVID year.
Cool.
So the kids never played in person the whole time. And won a state championship.
That's funny to think about because all the other sports canceled.
Mm-hmm. Esports still good to go. Yeah, no, there was no issue. So it was actually really competitive too, regardless of the COVID aspect. Maybe even more so because they were just locked in.
Yeah,
had nothing else to do. So from Rocket League grew to doing Madden and FIFA and Smash, and now Trinity has a huge Smash team.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's growing faster than probably any other esport that's available.
Yeah, and especially because you said the startup. I'm
yeah.
sure that's why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But moving in, so you've taken over Bellarmine's esports team. How did you get into that? Like, how did you get the job with taking over?
I think it's a couple of things. I'm a Bellarmine alumni, so I graduated with my undergrad in English and secondary education in like 2009, and then I got my master's from Bellarmine in 2014 in literacy, so very close to the school. Mm-hmm. And then one of the people that I coached with was the former esports director here at Bellarmine, Ben Subcheck, your old professor. So he kind of threw my name out there to his bosses, and we met and had lunch, and it just seemed like a good fit. And I was super happy to move over here, and it's been great since that move started.
Because you're a professor. What classes do you teach?
So I teach in the sports administration program. So it's housed under School of Rehab and Movement. Mm-hmm. So I teach all the classes that are either like intro sports admin, or I teach classes that are related to our esports management minor that we have.
Which that was just created last year, I'm pretty sure.
I think it was the first year. So we already have a couple people that are going to meet the requirements for completion, I think at the end of next semester. So that's going to be cool. So I teach Sports Admin 101. I teach, last semester I taught History of Video Games and Culture, which was really fun. I teach Facility and Event Management, which you took. And then this semester I'm teaching Sports 101 again, and then Intro to Esports and Business of Esports, which is the bulk of the esports minor.
I wish the minor would have came out sooner, because I'm a sports admin major, and I have a bunch of electives. I've come up with some other minors, but I would have had room to add that as a minor, which I'm actually taking one of the sports classes or esport classes now, and I love it. It's great. The ergonomics of esports.
Yeah, Dr. Broski's awesome.
Yeah.
He's actually the person that spearheaded getting an esports program here. So he went to a conference at Miami of Ohio, and they kind of pioneered esports. That person's like a billionaire now, but he was talking to Dr. Broski, like, we should get ahead of this, and that's how the whole thing started.
Definitely, yeah. So is it a club team or at Bellarmine, or how is that? It's
in an interesting spot. So I think in the next 3 to 5 years, it'll be an NCAA sanctioned sport, but it's not yet. NCAA keeps pushing it off for whatever reason. But last 3 years, it was a club, which means it was like a student-ran organization, and then Mr. Subcheck came, and it was kind of this weird dynamic where he was the director, but the club still had autonomy to do whatever they wanted to, and so now it's no longer in that club designation, so I have the autonomy to make choices. I still, of course, collaborate with all the students, and we work really well together. But it's not in athletics, but it's not a club. We're in some kind of strange little limbo.
Gray area almost,
and that's a pretty good metaphor for esports right now in general. There's just not really a lot of defined places where it fits. So, but it works really well so far.
In my esports class, we were looking about the amount of money that is in this. I don't know if the people watching know this, but it's more than the NFL. It's the amount of money that there is in there is insane. I don't know how it's got so big. I mean, Twitch streamers have probably made it really big. All the streamers have. But it's wild. And so if Bellarmine, the way that they got right onto it is awesome. And now, do you have any plans in the future? What are your plans?
So one of the first steps is that we want to really make the esports space that we have a selling point. And it's completely functional and it works right now, but when you bring in incoming freshmen, it looks like a really nice computer lab, which is okay, but you're not going to convince people to come to your program and really sell it that we understand esports if it doesn't visually fit what people are kind of expecting. So now that the tournament is in the books, I'm hoping to switch gears to working on developing and fundraising for finishing the space. So I want to make it where there's a big open window so people walking by can kind of see in, because we're kind of tucked away over there. You've been in the room. And kind of just make the cosmetic finishing touches. I don't think it'll be too much, but I'm still waiting to get some bids back on the space to kind of finalize everything.
Okay,
so that's the next big project.
Sweet. Yeah, that'd pull in a lot of people.
I think so too.
Just changing a little bit. But I mean, it's still really cool. All the PCs, the Alienware, that's like the top of the line PC. So I mean, that's probably a big draw in. For
sure. Yeah, like kids said they were playing at our tournament. We're like just thrilled to be playing on like these PCs. Like there was no lag, no packet loss. Like it was like just super smooth. They were awesome. Happy.
So you came here from Trinity, and you came here, and you're now here, esports. What is like recruiting? How is that difficult? Like, because I don't think, are there scholarships and stuff?
So Bellarmine does offer scholarships for esports, but it is difficult to recruit partially because a lot of the games that are most popular in college are not allowed to be played in high school. So high schools, there's actually laws in Kentucky prohibiting shooters being played, like FPSs on campus. So that eliminates things like Overwatch and Valorant and Fortnite. All those that are super popular in the collegiate scene just is not allowed to exist in high school. So I have a hard time recruiting for a lot of the games that we play here on campus. And you were talking earlier about like startup costs for schools. League of Legends is 5v5, so it's hard to find 5 really nice PCs or kids that can play that much to get good at League of Legends.
And then find 5 that can play together, I'm sure, is even harder.
Exactly. So it's, unless you're recruiting like a whole team, which that's something I've kind of been talking with a couple like incoming people, like they have like 3 friends that all want to come here. So that's amazing when that happens, but it can be tough. Like I told you there's like 40 League of Legends teams in Kentucky. It's a relatively small number compared to a lot of the other esports. So it can be tricky, but I've been doing some recruiting through like field trips and stuff, hosting people on campus and taking them on a tour, and then having my teams like do some coaching with them too. So that's been really successful so far.
Are they allowed to join like the Discord right after?
Yes. So they can play with our teams and get better and improve. And we also host local tournaments in addition to what we just did this weekend. So we host a Smash tournament every single Wednesday. It's open to the whole community, and then we do a bi-weekly every other Friday that's open too. That brings in a lot of folks from like U of L, like anyone who's just super into esports can come.
What are the games that are played here?
So this semester we have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, League of Legends, Valorant, and Overwatch.
Okay. Would you all ever add like Call of Duty and Fortnite?
I will add whatever as long as we can find people. Like I know, like any Rocket League players that are watching this and listening, please join esports, because I know you're out there and you just don't like that's another thing too, is like when it comes to recruiting, like is finding people on campus. You know, like we're pretty new, I'm new here, so trying to find the right avenues to advertise and like doing involvement fairs and stuff is kind of effective, but like I need more Bellarmine people to just want to do it too, that are into it, because I know they play and they're out there. Yeah,
that's the thing with me. Like I like playing video games. Since college though, I just haven't had the time, so which is hard.
Everyone's schedules is different too, like with jobs and classes, like it can be really hard to make practices and game days work. So that's true with any club sport. But
how are the game days? How does that work?
So fortunately, almost every game day through the league we're in NACE, which is probably the biggest collegiate esports like tournament organizer. They're all on different days. So Overwatch will play one day, League of Legends another, Smash another, and so we don't ever have a problem with like space issues.
Wow, I'm sure that's a crazy schedule for you.
It's almost every single day there's something. So I'm lucky that I have really motivated captains and players that are very organized. I've been fortunate to find 3 coaches. So I have a coach for League of Legends, I have a coach for Smash, and I have a coach for Overwatch, and they're all fantastic.
That was going to be my next question, if you were bringing more people in to help, because I mean that's a lot of work. What are the coaches' names? So
our coach for Smash is John Hines. He actually runs Cavalry Esports here in Louisville, so he runs local events. So those locals on Wednesdays and every other Friday, he was running somewhere else, and now he's running them here. Ethan Morris runs our Overwatch team, and then Eli Mattingly is our coach for League of Legends. He also is a player, so within the NACE rules, he's a student at Bellarmine. He's just transferred here. He's actually one of the first people I recruited to come play.
That's awesome.
He's getting his MBA here, and he played somewhere else. He played at Cumberland's before. Now he's playing for us and coaching for our team. So he's been great too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, my last question for you is, just so it doesn't go too long, I know you're busy, you got stuff to do.
Sure.
bring in more recruits in, what do you need to do for them to come in, I guess, is ultimately, I guess, the hardest part. How can you get those top recruits in, and how can you train them to, like, learn to play with each other right away? Like, what do you do for that?
So as far as getting them in, I think that based on the esports environment right now in Kentucky, because my bosses kind of had the vision to set this stuff up for us, we position ourselves pretty competitively against any other school in the state. So people, especially with things like this tournament, see us as a hub for all things esports, which that recruitment tool is there. As far as getting kids or getting players on the team and adjusted, I think that it goes back to what I was saying about my players being like, they're super welcoming, and that's something about the esports community too, is like people are really motivated to make it successful. And so as such, it's very collaborative. You know, you're not going to find, there are rivalries, but at the end of the day, like I was telling you earlier, like Trinity and St. X were in the finals for Smash this past weekend, and Trinity won. But these guys play at locals, and they play all the time. And so, like, at the end of the match, like, they were all like dab each other up and like hug. Like, it was not like a typical Trinity St. X ending where like there's bad blood. Like, they're all really good friends outside of it. And so I think having that community built in with esports is huge to getting people in and feeling like they're part of the team. Yeah, I'm sure there's like this weird area with esports that like people are like, it's a sport, but it's not a sport. Yeah. We were talking about that earlier. So like seeing like the community with esports, like they all, like, although they compete against each other, they're all working together to show people that it is a real sport. Yeah. I mean, I talked with, in my class, the real athletes, they have to practice, they have fan bases, they're working for trophies, championships. Like, there's all these things. They are real athletes because they're competing. So like finding an area for them has been great, and it's really cool to watch, and like to see you doing this is awesome because there's not many schools that have started doing this. Right. So it's awesome. But thank you for coming on. It's awesome to hear about the esports. It's only up, I guess, from here. That's the hopes. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Well, moving on to next week, I'm having a basketball player on, so you all can be looking forward to that. If you wanted to get connected to the esports, I'll leave a link for Professor Greenwell's email in there, so you can get in touch. Thank you all for watching. See you all next week.